Solo una recomendación a los que no tienen todavía su pase de acreditación, buscarlo en la entrada, porque si esta noche los que quieran venir a la fiesta del Estadio Santiago Bernabéu, que es por la puerta 30, Real Café Bernabéu, a partir de las 11:30 de la noche, necesitan acreditación para entrar, así que por favor el que no la tenga, que la busque. Y ahora vamos a presentar a Phil Libin. Phil es el CEO de Evernote, la aplicación de productividad más bajada de iPhone, con más de 10 millones de downloads. Entonces es la aplicación de pago, una de las más exitosas en Internet. Phil viene desde San Francisco a estar hoy con todos ustedes. Gracias. Phil, welcome.
You told me everything I know. Wave goodbye, wish me well.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here.
Oh, okay, it's your turn. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. This is a really wonderful venue. This is probably the coolest location that I've ever spoken at, so thank you all. My name is Phil Libin. I'm the CEO of Evernote. I hope some of you know what Evernote is. If you don't, our mission is basically to help people remember everything. We want Evernote to be your second brain, to use it to capture everything interesting, everything important that happens in your life on any computer, on any cell phone, and just know that you always have it with you. So it's a remember everything platform. We launched Evernote just under 3 years ago. In fact, our 3-year anniversary is coming up in a couple of weeks, later in June. And here's how we're doing currently. So we're happy to say that we just passed 10 million total users. We have more than 3.5 million unique active users in the past month, and closing in on 500,000 paying users in our freemium model. And what I'll talk about in this presentation is how all these numbers work and how we got there, which hopefully will be useful to some of you if you're thinking of starting your own company. As my main point today is I really believe that right now, today, is the best time in the universe. It's the best time ever in the history of the planet to build a technology company. There's a unique opportunity right now that never existed before. And you can build things today and be successful with them much faster and much quicker than you ever could. And I hope that many of you take advantage of this opportunity. And I'll use our experience at Evernote over the past 3 years as just kind of an example of how we think about this opportunity, of what we think is unique. Let me give you a quick example with a new product that we just launched last week, just a couple of days ago. Some of you may have heard about this. It's a product that we call Evernote Peak. This is our first educational product. It ties into Evernote, but it's a way to help you learn and study for things. And we built this as a way to show people how they can use Evernote in more creative ways. But I think more importantly, I want to point out that the whole timeline from when we decided to build this product till after it was launched, the entire timeline was just 3.5 weeks. So this is what you can do in just 3.5 weeks in this environment. So, a very simple idea. Thank you. One thing that we learned from this is it's actually pretty easy to make TV ads that look like Apple ads. Because everything in here, the design, all the graphics, the market research, the video production, the video took about 2 days. The whole thing is just 3.5 weeks. And within 24 hours, after launch, this became the #1 education app in the world. on the iPad App Store, and it still is. I just checked about 2 minutes ago. It's still number one in the US, it's number one in Spain, it's number one almost everywhere in the world. So we went from just a basic idea to the number one app, hardly spending any money, hardly doing anything other than just designing and developing the product, and I think that's unique. Here's why. I think these are the differences today. These are the 5 things that are true right now, which never used to be true before, which certainly weren't true when I started my first company 15 years ago, or when I started my second company 10 years ago. There's 5 new things. There's app stores. Before app stores, if you were making software, you had to worry about how you were going to sell it. You had to worry about logistics and distribution and channels. Now you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is make a great app, you put it on the app stores, and the next day, everyone in the world can get it. There's cloud services, open source infrastructure. So when I was building, if we had to build Evernote 10 years ago, we would have spent tens of millions of dollars on the infrastructure, just on the servers, on the databases. Everything was much more expensive. Now all of the best components are open source. So we can stand up an infrastructure that can support tens of millions of users relatively quickly. Of course, you have social media. Didn't have this even 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we would have had to worry about advertising and about how do we do marketing? How do we get people to know about our product? We don't have to do that anymore. People just know automatically. If you build a great product, everyone in the world will know about it within days because of social media. In fact, I would say when people ask me, they say, well, I have a really hard time getting my app noticed, getting my product noticed. How do I get everyone to know about it? I would say if your product, if you're making something on the internet, consumer-based internet product, and if your product isn't just getting known, it's just probably not very good. There's really no reason why something that's excellent isn't going to become known literally within a couple of weeks because of social media. For Evernote Peak, for example, we did no traditional marketing. It was all via Twitter, and we didn't do anything special. We just tweeted about it. We became the number 4 trending Twitter topic worldwide. We had thousands of retweets, hundreds of blogs and newspaper articles, all through social media. And of course, freemium economics. 5 years ago, if you were making a software product, you really had to worry about what your business model was going to be, how you were going to make money for it. Now, with freemium economics, there's a pretty good model. Basically, all you have to do is make the best possible product, and almost everything else you get for free. That's the main difference. In my first 2 companies, they were both technology companies, but in my first 2 companies, I would say we spend 60 to 80% of our effort not on building the products, but on everything else. We spend maybe 20% on building and maybe 80% on sales and marketing and partnerships and channels. With Evernote, we spend 90% on building the product and maybe 10% on everything else put together. That's the real change today. That's why today, when you add these 5 things up, you get geek meritocracy. I think that's the state of the world we live in, geek meritocracy. If you make something great, if you're a geek, I hope that translates okay, and you're passionate about making a great product and you make a great product, that's almost all you have to do because the great products will naturally come to the top. There's another way to look at this, which is for all of the history of the world for the past 20,000 years, there's been a single driving basis for all economies, for all business models. It's been scarcity. Scarcity is the central concept that underlies all business forever. Because basically the things that you want, there's more demand than supply. So whether you're talking about food or desirable caves to live 20,000 years ago or seats in an airplane, it's all driven by scarcity. But the big change is in the past decade, something is happening, something else is coming along. And big segments of the economy are no longer based on scarcity. Really, anything that has to do with intellectual property is no longer scarcity based. This is true of music, for example. 1,000 years ago, if you wanted to hear music, you had one chance, one option, which is you better know how to play music. 500 years ago, if you wanted to hear music, you had to go to some concert hall. And so the scarcity was based on actually traveling to a concert hall and how many people could fit. 20 years ago, if you wanted to listen to music, even 10 years ago, It was based on the scarcity of how many records or how many CDs could actually be printed and published and manufactured. Now there's no scarcity in music. Anyone can just copy, download any music they want. Same thing with video games, with books, with movies, with anything kind of intellectual, anything consumer-based is no longer scarcity-based. And this has caused huge problems for traditional businesses that only know how to operate in a scarcity-based world. They try to create false scarcity by doing things like DRM, digital rights management, and things like this. And those are okay as short-term solutions, but I think the long-term solution is to understand that there's another factor where scarcity isn't the only factor anymore. There's another factor which is becoming important, and I really think that factor is love. I think people's love for your product determines more of its value right now than scarcity. If you're in the cloud, if you're in consumer applications, if you're in internet services, love is what motivates your users, and love is what determines how valuable your product is. Let me give you some examples. If I can get this to work. No? Okay. So this graph shows, it's very scientific, as you can tell. On the vertical axis is the total percentage of the world's economy, and on the horizontal axis is time, going all the way from a long time ago to a very long time from now. This is the precision that matters in these things. And I think the world kind of looks like this, where you can see the portion of the economy that's scarcity-based versus the portion that's love-based. So you could see a long time ago, 100% was based on scarcity, and in the distant Star Trek future, when more and more things are intellectual-based, a large segment of the economy will be based on love. When we all have teleporters and we could just make anything without having to worry about physical components and there's no more money and all of that kind of stuff. So where are we today on this? I think today we're right about here. We're right at that line. So we're right at the beginning of this process, where most of the economy today is still based on scarcity. You know, I just flew over here from San Francisco, and obviously airplane seats are very much based on scarcity, right? There's only a small number of comfortable chairs that are moving across the ocean at any given time. If you want to be in one, you have to pay a lot of money. But more and more, products are based on, the value of products is based on how much people love them. The value of Facebook and the value of Twitter, and even I would say the value of iPhones and iPads, partially based on scarcity, but mostly on love, on how people experience them and how they start to love them more over time. And even though right now that love-based section is pretty small, that's where all the excitement is. That's where all the crazy valuations are. That's where all of the investment is happening. That's where all of the passion is going. So if you're thinking of starting a company in this audience, you want to be right there. That's where your company lives. In that small but very quickly growing section that's no longer based on scarcity, but that's based on love. So it's important to understand what kind of business you have to find the best business model for it. I think you can basically look at the evolution of business types. I think there's kind of 3 different types of businesses, and they vary in their perceived value over time. So how valuable your customer perceives your product to be based on how long they've been using it. The most traditional type is this one, where the perceived value goes down over time. So most products are like this. If you buy a bowl of noodles, you get value out of it. 2 days later, you're not really getting a whole lot of value out of that noodles. Or you download a video game and you play it for 2 weeks, but then you finish it and you don't play it again. The value goes down over time. And if you're in this kind of business model, then you should just sell it. You should just sell the product because the greatest value comes right at the beginning, so you may as well just charge money for it. When we entered the information age, we got this kind of business model where the value stays flat over time. This is true of, for example, most subscriptions. So if you have a newspaper subscription, physical or fully online, or a video on demand subscription or something, you use it every day, you use it every month, the value stays constant over time. It doesn't necessarily get more valuable, but it stays the same. And if you have that kind of model, then advertising or subscription is a good business model. But what's new because of geek meritocracy, is what companies like Evernote and many others are trying to do, which is the SIR type, which is the cloud age business model, where the perceived value increases over time. So the more people use your product, the more they love it. The more time they spend with it, the more valuable it becomes. It's true of Evernote because we store your life's memories. So what you put into Evernote is everything important to you for your whole life. So a month after you start using Evernote, well, you have a month of your life in there. It's maybe not that valuable to you. But after a year, you have a year of everything important that happened, a year of your memories. That's actually worth a lot. And after 10 years of using Evernote, you're going to have the past 10 years of your life. All of the important business stuff, all the best food you've eaten, all of the documents you wrote, everything you thought was interesting for the past 10 years. 10 years of your life is going to be the most valuable thing you have. So the key to freemium, the key to what we do, is this increasing value over time. And that, I think, is the key to love. The idea behind love in the product sense is the more people spend time, the more people use your service or your product, the more valuable it is, the more they fall in love with it. This is the shape that defines it. So let's see how this works for us. Remember, this is the goal. Well, here's how we're doing. Like I said, we just crossed 10 million users. This shows our growth of users over time. And this curve is completely organic. 99.5% of our users we didn't pay for. They came in directly through word of mouth, through friends, through blogs. Only 0.5% came in through traditional means like advertising or paid users. If we were doing this 5 years ago, it would have been the opposite. It would have been 90% coming in through paid channels and maybe 10% organic. But today, in the geek meritocracy, this is what you can achieve. Most importantly, and this is the heart of the Evernote business model, is how we track users and behavior. So what we do is we break users up into groups called cohorts based on the month that they first joined Evernote. So this shows you the cohort of March 2008. So March 2008 was our very first closed beta month, and 31,000 people joined Evernote in that month. And so that 31,000 people are in that group. And this chart shows you what happened to those people for the next 2.5 years. So you can see 31,000 people signed up in the beginning, and then in the very next month, about 50% didn't come back. So we lost about 50% of those users. And then in the next month, you see we lost another 5 or 10%. So we lost maybe 60 to 75% of all the users that signed up. But after they stayed for 2 months, they never left. Right? So what this graph shows is the long-term retention is 100%. So everyone at Evernote, we lose all of our users in the beginning. But once you've used it for a couple of months, if you can figure out how to use it, once you understand that it's your second brain, you never leave. So we have this great long-term retention, which is really the key to the business. Because what happens is, when you layer these cohorts up, you get this. The little red line all the way in the bottom is that March group, and every other month is layered on top of it. And so what you see is, you see this, it almost looks like a geological graph. You get these compressed layers of loyal users that keep coming back, that come back month after month after month. And it's these compressed layers, these are the loyal users, that's where the value comes from. So every month we add a new group. It starts out really big, then it gets narrower, it gets a little bit narrower, and then it stays the same width. And so that's what the retention looks like. But how does this translate into money? Well, as you know, we have this freemium model. So Evernote is free, it's completely free, and the free version is the main version. The free version is the one that we want you to use forever. The free version has to be good enough so that the vast majority of people can use it for the rest of their lives and never have to pay. And we never force anyone to pay, and we never push anyone to pay. In fact, it's more important to us that you stay than that you pay. It's more important that you stay than that you pay. That was a really crucial insight when we figured that out, that was the business model, because it rhymes. And we knew, once we found the rhyming business model, that of course that was going to be the correct one, because good things rhyme. So it's more important to us that you stay than that you pay, because every month that you stay, you're actually more likely to fall in love with it, and you're more likely to pay, and you're more likely to tell your friends to use it. And you can see that on this chart. So the chart at the beginning shows that March of 2008 cohort, right? You can see the graph you saw before. The chart at the bottom shows what percentage, how much money, how many dollars we got from those people per month over time. And you can see all the way at the beginning that there was about 10,000 people, about 11,000 people left in this group in June of 2008 when we first started charging money. And out of that 10,000 people, we earned about $700. But then, as time went on, more and more of those same 10,000 people decided to start paying, even though we never forced them. They just decided to start paying. So 2.5 years later, the same 10,000 people now bring in more than $11,000 per month, every month, because the longer you stay, the more valuable Evernote becomes. So when you layer this up, you get this. This is the classic Silicon Valley hockey stick that you see in a lot of companies. You see the red at the bottom is that March cohort in revenue, and then you see every other month revenue on top of it. And what happens is the top grows exponentially, because every month we get more revenue from people who signed up that month, but every previous group, every previous month becomes more and more profitable. This is the love business model in action. The more you stay, the more valuable you think it is. The more valuable you think it is, the more likely you are to pay for it. So that's why the top line revenue is growing exponentially. In fact, this is the conversion rate. So the number one question that I always get as a freemium company CEO is what percentage of your users pay? And most freemium companies never answer that question. But this is the answer. This shows the percentage of people that pay over time. And you can see that in the first month, only 0.5% of people pay. So in the first month of somebody signing up, 0.5% actually pays for it. But every month that you stay, you're more likely to pay. So our oldest users, the ones that have been with us for about 3 years, 23% of them are currently paying. So 23% of everyone who signed up to Evernote 3 years ago who's using Evernote is currently a paying user this month. That's that increased value over time graph, and that's why this love-based business model can be so profitable. So to wrap up, I wanted to remind people we have a developer competition, which we just announced. We have a big event in San Francisco on August 18th, but you don't have to come to the event to enter. We have over $100,000 in prizes for clever API integrations with Evernote. So if any of you are developers, the top prize is $50,000. All you have to do is build an integration, a small app that uses Evernote in some clever way, and we would be happy to award you the prize. The deadline for this is July 15th, so if any of you are interested, please go to etc.evernote.com. ETC is the Evernote Trunk Conference, and please enter, and I hope to see many of you in August. Thank you very much. Remember to choose your business model wisely, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Hi, Phil. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have one question. So Evernote is present on several platforms, and it's, for me personally, I'm a user, a premium user. It's wonderful. I can switch from one to the other. But what would be a suggestion for someone that wants to get into the freemium model but has limited resources and has to start with one particular platform? What would be the one you would suggest me to get into, initially at least?
So we've actually done a lot of research on this. We have stats. You know, if I had another 3 hours, I can show you the platform by platform cohort analysis like this. So it really depends on what you're trying to optimize for. The short answer is this. If you have a limited developer resources, but you're trying to optimize for total number of new users, because you're looking to raise money or something, so you just want to grow as big as possible, then it's iPhone. So for us, iPhone has the best return for developer year per new user. If you're trying to optimize for profitability, then it's Mac. It's actually desktop Mac. Desktop Macintosh users for us are the most profitable per user. So if you have to pick one, I would say, if you can only do one platform, I would say probably iOS or desktop Mac. If you could do two, then I would definitely put Android in there very quickly. And you know, the more you can do, the better. So we have, I think, 13 or 14 different versions, and all of them are profitable, you know, to various extents.
Hi, congratulations. And I told you yesterday I love the product.
Thank you very much.
And my question is, I love your idea of the gig meritocracy and the love model, but I still see that in the tech world, social proof for first-time entrepreneurs is very important in front of investors and stakeholders.
Yeah.
And even if you are building an amazing product, you need social proof. So what's your take and advice on it? And the second question I have is, why the elephant in the logo?
Well, the second question is easier to answer. So the elephant is because there's a saying in English, which is an elephant never forgets. So elephants supposedly have very good memories. They always remember. So since Evernote is about memory, we picked the elephant. And we were actually surprised that like nobody else knows this. This is just English. The most common question I get, especially in Japan, they're like, why an elephant? Is it because Evernote is big and slow? No. About fundraising, it's really interesting. So it's a very good time to be raising money everywhere in general. The two most important things for fundraising is that you show mastery and infatuation. So if you can show, you don't need experience. You have to show when you're pitching that you have total mastery of the subject matter, that you understand the subject matter better than anyone else the investor has talked to, and you have to show infatuation. So you have to be in love with your idea more than you love anything else in the world. And if the investor sees that you're not infatuated, that maybe you love something else more, maybe kids or something, very tough to get money. But if you can show mastery and complete infatuation, then that's the most important thing. And especially in Silicon Valley, that's what you need to raise money at this point. And many friends of mine are raising money successfully, and that's basically what it takes. Great. So what's the difference between the paid and the free version? So that's a great question. So intentionally, the differences are pretty small because we don't want people to think that the free version is some kind of a lure or a bait and switch. The free version isn't the hook. It's the main version. So the premium version gets you some really nice features for power users. Like you get, for example, past versions of notes. So you can see like what your notes used to look like, 6 months ago or whatever. You get better support for different Office documents. So you can store any docs in there. You get a much larger single document size. So you can put in notes that are much bigger. You get better collaboration options. So it's basically tuned for professional users. But what we do is we have our maximum conversion rate. Right? We are not trying to increase the percentage of people, that go to premium. We think that the best overall percentage is about 5%. Whenever we see too many people go to premium, we actually think that's a problem because we think that means that our free version isn't good enough. And if our free version isn't good enough, then we're probably losing users, which means that we may be getting more money in the short term, but we're going to lose money in the long term. So we're always making the free version as good as possible to get as many people into it. And by design, the differences are actually fairly small. I think this is the number one mistake that a lot of companies in freemium make, is they treat the free version as really crippled. The free version is really inferior. And I think if you do that, users understand it and they just never sign up and you defeat the whole love idea. Our business model is, we call it long-term greedy. So we're here to make money. Obviously we have to. We have VCs and investors, but we're long-term greedy. We want to make money in the long term. And when we look at a user like you, we say, we have the rest of your life to make money from you. We don't need to do it today. We don't need to do it tomorrow. As long as we keep you happy and keep you coming back, we have the rest of your life to make you fall in love enough to pay for it. And that works very well for us. Great. I think we're probably over time, so I don't know if there's any more questions or...
Okay.
Great.
Ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
It's a kind of magic.